Have you ever been pushed to the edge in a relationship and then labeled as the abuser? You might have experienced reactive abuse. The tension builds, and then, finally, you snap. You might yell, cry, or even say something you regret. And then suddenly, you are the problem. The abuser points the finger at you, claiming you're the unstable one. Let's dive into what reactive abuse really is, how it unfolds, and most importantly, how to navigate it. Because you deserve so much more than to live in a constant state of fear and reactivity. Reactive abuse occurs in relationships where there is an imbalance of power and control. It's a subtle form of manipulation that often flies under the radar, leaving the victim feeling confused and ashamed. Imagine someone constantly poking you with a stick. At first, you might endure it, hoping they'll stop. But after a while, the pain becomes unbearable and you react, perhaps by swatting their hand away. Instead of acknowledging their behavior, that person points the finger at you and says, "Look how aggressive you are. You're the one with the problem." The abuser, through their consistent pattern of provocation, gaslighting, or manipulation, pushes the victim to their emotional breaking point. The abuser might use silent treatment, guilt trips, or even play the victim to maintain control. They use your reaction as evidence that you are the problem, further solidifying their control and undermining your self-worth. Reactive abuse doesn't appear out of thin air. It's a pattern of behavior that emerges over time, often insidiously, within the context of a relationship. It often begins with subtle forms of emotional or psychological abuse. The abuser might chip away at your self-esteem with backhanded compliments, belittle your accomplishments, or make you question your perceptions and reality. They might isolate you from friends and family, making you more dependent on them. As the cycle continues, the abuser's behavior escalates. They might become more controlling, demanding to know your whereabouts, monitoring your phone calls and messages, or dictating who you can and can't see. This constant pressure cooker of manipulation and control creates an environment of fear and anxiety. And because the abuser often mixes their controlling behavior with intermittent displays of affection or remorse, it can create a confusing push-and-pull dynamic. Over time, this constant exposure to emotional invalidation and manipulation takes its toll, leaving you feeling emotionally raw and on edge. If you've recognized yourself in the description of reactive abuse, the first and most important thing to remember is this: you are not alone. It's incredibly common for victims of this type of abuse to blame themselves, to feel ashamed of their reactions, and to question their own sanity. But understand this, your reactions are not the problem. They are a completely normal human response to an abnormal situation. Healing from reactive abuse requires breaking free from the self-blame and guilt that the abuser has so carefully woven around you. One of the most powerful things you can do is to educate yourself about reactive abuse. Knowledge truly is power, and understanding the dynamics of this type of manipulation can help you to see your situation more clearly. It's also crucial to start setting firm boundaries. Remember, you have the right to protect your emotional space and to refuse to be treated with disrespect. Finally, seek support. Talk to a trusted friend, family member, therapist, or support group. Preventing reactive abuse from taking root in your relationships requires a two-pronged approach: building healthy relationship patterns and prioritizing your own emotional well-being. First and foremost, it's essential to recognize the red flags of a potentially abusive relationship early on. This includes things like excessive jealousy, controlling behavior, a lack of respect for your boundaries, and attempts to isolate you from loved ones. If you notice these red flags, trust your gut instincts and proceed with caution. Communication is key in any healthy relationship, and it's especially important when it comes to preventing reactive abuse. Learn to communicate your needs and boundaries assertively, and pay attention to how your partner responds. When you feel good about yourself and have healthy ways to manage stress, you're less likely to be triggered by an abuser's attempts to control or manipulate you. If you find yourself constantly walking on eggshells, feeling drained, or questioning your own sanity, it's time to reassess the relationship and prioritize your own well-being. Remember, you are not the problem. Recognize the cycle, protect your emotional energy, and seek healthier ways to cope. You deserve to be in relationships where you feel respected, valued, and safe to express yourself without fear of judgment or reprisal. Breaking free from the cycle of reactive abuse takes courage, self-awareness, and a commitment to prioritizing your own well-being. But with the right support and resources, you can heal from the emotional wounds of the past and create a brighter, more empowered future for yourself. For more mental health insights, trauma recovery strategies, and self-growth tips, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Focused Mind Counseling.